Welcome to The Claw. This is a Bears podcast hosted by yours truly, Camden Meno. I have a few guests with me this week. First one.
How's it going? I'm Victor Voskresensky.
How's it going? I'm Jack Jr.
So I'm the host. This is Camden again. The other two, all three of us are extremely big Bears fans. This is episode 1 of The Claw. And first off, I'm just going to start by giving my credentials as a Bears fan. I was born in 2006, but I've been a professional Bears fan since 2011. A little fun fact about me, I was born on a divisional game day against the Panthers. And another fun fact, I was born at 9:40 p.m. on that day, which was after their loss. And my dad always said that I waited to pop out, so I didn't have to start my life by watching a loss. With that being said, today the main point is we are going to try to convince anyone who doesn't have a team, more specifically as an Iowa student, some Iowa City citizens, to be Bears fans, since they can kind of choose who they're fans with. So we're just going to get into it. We're going to start with kind of the history of the Bears, and then just briefly, and then we're going to talk about how, obviously, as most people know, their history is pretty rough, but we're going to get into why now is a great time due to, the recent drafts and such. So let's just get into it. All right, so the first era we're kind of going to get into in our lifetimes is roughly from like 2011 to 2018. We'll talk about 2018. I'm sure a few people know what happened that year. But yeah, I think we're going to open it up here.
Yeah, no, that was basically the era of mediocrity.
Yeah.
As a Bears fan.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, that was the era where I started to really get into football.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
That was kind of what I first remember when I thought of the NFL. And there was a lot of years of just straight mediocrity, like you said. I mean, we ranged from seasons from about 6 to 8 wins. We were just kind of a little bit below 500 besides that one year in 2010.
Yeah.
Where we went 11-5, but it was still fun football.
I was about to say. I mean, it was good. We were good enough where I wanted to be a Bears fan.
We had a fun defense to watch with Lance Briggs, Urlacher, Charles Tillman. They were just a fun defense
some great
overall.
guys.
Even though they didn't bring us too much success, they were an exhilarating team to watch.
Yeah.
We also went through, I don't know how many quarterbacks in that span of time.
Right. I mean,
Jay Cutler was the main guy, and
guy.
I feel like he gets a lot of hate nowadays that is kind of undeserved.
But
because he got the job done with not too great of a squad.
Mm-hmm.
He had good receivers in Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey, but
he also
there wasn't too many really mean threats on that offense.
I mean, he had some pretty unrealistic expectations too. He kind of came in.
He was a character.
He didn't care.
His rookie year, correct me if I'm wrong, his rookie year, the starting quarterback got hurt. He had to come in halfway through the season as a rookie. I mean, we could fact check that, but
from Denver.
I don't know. He
got drafted by Denver.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
It was a lot of ups and downs.
An interesting time.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
All right, now we're going to get into probably the best year in Bears' recent history. That would be the 2018 season. A lot of people know it as the double doink season. This is kind of the peak for us. We're going to talk more about this for sure. Again, this is when Matt Nagy came in his first year with our former GM Ryan Pace. And took the Bears to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years with a 12-4 record, which was the best start for a first-year coach since George Halas in 1920.
And may I add, he did win Coach of the Year that year.
Coach of the Year.
Very impressive for a first-year coach,
Very.
Especially with the squad he had.
Yeah, nothing crazy. We had Mitch Trubisky that year.
Yeah, he was. He was a Pro Bowler that
Interesting pick. Interesting draft pick. I will say by the Bears. Josh Allen was still on the board, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of interesting guys. When you take a guy from North Carolina, you don't typically see that a lot.
Yeah.
And it was confusing as a Bears fan.
Yeah, it was a bonehead move, and that's kind of the stuff that we used to get.
And so, again, we talk about how, this was such a great year. But then, obviously, we know it finished with the double doink. Cody Parkey
Yeah.
puts it off
If
the.
you're not familiar,
Yeah.
down 2 points, 39-yard field goal, sinks the first timeout. They iced him. Second one, doinks off the side crossbar and then
Left. If I'm not-
left,
Yep.
and then the bottom.
Yeah.
It was. It doesn't go in.
It was
He had-
insane.
miserable.
He had struggles like that all year too.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
will say he was a decently consistent kicker over the season, but
he was consistent.
it's
at-
just
at
that
doinking.
one kick's
Yeah.
gonna
That's-
make his image.
And
his
that's
whole
what
image.
he was remembered for that.
Consistent at hitting
forever,
uprights.
still to this day. But pretty much it was just that year. 2019 season was the beginning of the downfall.
That defense though in 28, that was one
yeah.
of the best parts of it.
Yeah.
We had dogs on the defensive squad with Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Who else we had that year?
I mean, that was a
Yeah.
Eddie Jackson.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, great squad of.
Yeah. It was a good squad. It was a good
They
squad.
were- yeah.
It was a good squad.
That had morale high in
Yeah.
the city.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so after a lot of long years of mediocrity, being around 500, we took a huge shift in drafting a quarterback number one, which was the first quarterback we drafted number one in 5 years. And this was a really weird pick at the time because we drafted Justin Fields out of Ohio State, and he's a scrambler. He wasn't a typical Bears quarterback that we see. We usually have a lot of quarterbacks that are strong in the pocket,
just
a lot
sit
of
there.
pocket presence, and then we drafted an athletic specimen in Justin Fields at
Yeah.
6'4". He's quick. He could do it all.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a great pick, and this really brought Chicago fans together.
He was a fan favorite
Yeah.
for sure.
Favorite
I
pick.
loved that.
It's
guy.
almost a pick that we would make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as fans, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But after that, this is when we get into where we're at now. This is the beginning of why I think each and every one of you should be Bears fans, and that's with the hiring of current GM Ryan Poles in 2022. This is the year after Justin was drafted. So that kind of started as an interesting thing because, again, your current GM didn't draft you. But we'll move on from that, and then we'll keep talking about Poles here.
Yeah, I mean, he's made every right move so far.
Except, I did not like Eberflus.
No.
I never liked Eberflus.
Yeah. I mean, he was a great defensive coach. I think he should have been
Right.
hired as a defensive coordinator, and I think he'd be a great defensive coordinator anywhere, especially with us with how good of a defense we had at the time.
Yeah.
But him running the offense and then also trying to call plays just did not work.
Yeah, I mean, as for Ryan Poles, that trade with the Panthers goes down as the best trade of all
Right.
time, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah. We're going to focus on the
Because-
positives here. Yeah.
If we think about it, all the Bears gave up was that number one pick, which ended up being Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
I'm not gonna talk about how that player is, but we've gotten so many different
I
prospects.
have
out
the
of
full
it.
trade. So the full trade, because the final draft pick just happened from that trade in this draft a week or two ago. So we got DJ Moore,
Our wide receiver
wide
one.
receiver one. We got Darnell Wright on the line, currently starts. Tyreek Stevenson,
Amazing.
phenomenal player. And then that was pretty much right away, either through the draft or just an instant trade. And then we eventually got Caleb Williams, which we will get into. We will talk plenty about Caleb in a few. And then this past 2 weeks ago, last draft, we got Luther Burden III out of Missouri. And I'm excited about him. Again, we'll get more into Caleb and this year's draft in a little bit. But I think we need to wrap up Eberflus and Fields just because I think that's when the era of now starts. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't the move like we said, but I think with Poles putting things into action, actually trying to do things, that was unique for the Bears. And so that's
We
why
were
I
used
think,
to making a lot of moves in free
Right.
agency or in the offseason,
Right.
so this was a huge shift in Bears.
and that's why even though it started rocky, I think even the fact that we were doing something is just something to be excited about.
They learned from their mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's sky's the
it's
limit.
completely different football.
Yeah. Now we're gonna get into my GOAT, Caleb Williams, and the 2024 season in total. Caleb himself, he finished with a completion percentage of 62.5, hit 3,500 yards for 20 TDs, with only 6 interceptions, which led NFC North quarterbacks in his rookie year. and that's not to mention with the 8th worst O-line in the NFL, and he was sacked 68 times. And we'll get to how the O-line was fixed this offseason in a little bit, but
That was the 8th worst? It was the worst.
it says 8. I looked it up, but it was awful.
He
It
got,
was bad.
he got
Regardless,
sacked. He got sacked the most times.
yeah.
By 15
Yeah,
sacks.
it was by 15 sacks. Yeah, so, I mean, rough season, but again, looking at the
We
positives.
saw flashes of greatness.
We did.
Out of him. Some of the plays that he was willingly making,
Insane.
he should have been. There's many times that he made a play where he should have been sacked.
And I mean, I don't know I don't know the exact percentage, but I know a good amount of plays that he made were out of the pocket because he
Yeah.
had to be.
Yeah, it was either rolling left and throwing it 40 yards down the field on a rope to Rome Odunze.
Which
Yeah.
we'll talk about Rome.
Oh my God,
I'm
he's looking great.
I'm loving what he's doing so
He's
far.
looking great.
Again, when your quarterback getting sacked as much as Caleb did, I think Rome still had a pretty impressive season his rookie year. Also from that draft class, we had Kieran Ahmadja. I always mess up his name. O-lineman, and then we had our very own Iowa punter Torrey Taylor, and then Austin Booker from Kansas, which he's also, I think he had a decent season as well.
Torrey Taylor though,
Yeah,
he saved us
our guy,
many times.
many times.
Yeah,
Put us
he's
in a lot of
Such an
games.
interesting pick too, drafting a punter
Right.
in the 4th round. You don't typically see punters or kickers drafted.
Yeah.
So you could tell that's a move that's Ryan Poles.
Again, those exciting moves
Those
that
exciting moves that the fans want to see.
Yeah.
But also,
benefit the
I
team.
won't say has brought too much success record-wise, but it definitely on paper and
Yeah.
visually has brought a great roster.
Yeah, no,
We
I
weren't
mean,
even that bad in the record. We were 7-10, which obviously isn't playoff potential, but it's still not bottom tier in the league.
right.
And we closed the season
Not
out by
bad for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
and we closed the season out beating Green Bay in Lambeau,
Yeah,
which a
at
rookie
Lambeau.
quarterback has never done.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time a rookie quarterback did that. That's the first time we beat them there since
I
Josh
actually
McCown.
don't even know.
Josh McCown did it in
Wow.
2013.
Yeah.
So that was a high point.
Again, it's we need to find sparks of greatness, and I think we did this past season. It was tough, but again, I mean, to those who are still thinking about, hey, like we're just talking about all these bad things, but I think it's better if you find a team that has something to fight for. I mean, yeah, if you're from Iowa City, you could just pick the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, that's an easy choice, but there's no grit there.
Yeah.
And Chicago's known for their grit, and yeah. But now we're gonna talk this past offseason.
Probably
And-
the best offseason
and
I've ever seen.
that is in that is the hiring of former Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, which I think
Don't get me started.
everybody's excited about him.
He is
That was
young, creative mastermind when it comes to play calling.
oh my god.
It's the plays that the Lions were running last year with, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jared Goff. They were some plays we've
Insane.
never seen before. And I can't wait to see what he can do with full control over the team.
And I do want to say we're talking about how our squad was not at the greatest point a couple years ago. Where were the Lions a few years ago, and where are they now?
Nowhere.
Yeah.
And where are
that
they
was
now?
because of Ben Johnson.
And Ben Johnson was a big piece in that, especially the last few years. So it's not crazy to say that he could do that in Chicago.
Yeah. He took the Lions from 0-16 to 12-4
Right.
in a span of
The beautiful
5
part
seasons.
of it, too, is he's a young guy. He's a young guy. This is his first year head coaching, and he's got a young squad as well.
Yeah.
So if all this really does go well, we could have a team that could be dominating the league for years and years to come with a young quarterback, a young receiving
Exactly.
core, a young defense, and now a young head coach.
Yeah.
And what he did with the O-line, too.
Right. Okay, so we'll talk about the O-line. We had our 3 biggest pickups on the O-line. Jonah Jackson,
Massive.
Joe Tooney, and Drew Dahlman. All of them, for those who don't know, are very good. Simple. There's nothing else really to say about that. They're just very good. I think that instantly puts us from, I said 8th, maybe worst, to maybe now.
In my
maybe
opinion, we'll probably be on paper top 12, top 10.
top 12.
Yeah.
Which, are you going to complain about that, especially with the talent that we have around it?
We got also some vets on that O-line now.
True.
We got a young Darnell Wright from Tennessee, which I think he's a solid player. And then we get Thuney, who definitely has experience.
Yeah, I think.
Definitely has experience.
Yeah,
Same with
absolutely.
Dolman.
And then he was from Kansas City, so he knows how to win too.
Right. And you know who else is from Kansas City? Ryan Poles.
Bang.
Absolutely.
So, again, we talk about how now is the best point to hop on because I think in a few years, if we continue to develop our guys in the right way,
It's gonna be a lot of bandwagon.
It's gonna
I'll
be
say that.
it's gonna be a team that you wish when you heard this podcast that you're like, hey, I wish when I first heard that I became a Bears fan and not now, 2 or 3 years
You have
later.
the opportunity to be a Bears fan when the records have been pretty weak in the past few years, but there's so much potential and potential for one of the most fun teams to watch. Because we saw the Lions last year, they had the most viewership out of any team because of Ben Johnson's play calling. Put that on the Bears roster in Chicago, one of the biggest cities in the world. It's going to be beautiful.
It's like investing in Tesla before it was big.
Exactly.
Investing.
Exactly.
Invest early.
And so now we're going to talk about Ben. We just mentioned Ben Johnson, his play calling in Detroit, and this is where the draft comes in. I don't know if you guys saw what he did with 2 tight ends in Detroit, but I thought it was pretty impressive. We obviously have Cole Kmet, great guy,
Good block.
great player, and now we just drafted Colston Loveland out of Michigan, and
Which was an interesting pick
interesting
at the time
pick.
because everyone was thinking Tyler Warren out of Penn State.
Yeah.
But we went with the guy who is not only younger, but he's taller.
And a better catcher. He's the best pure catcher out of that draft class.
I think it just gives him even more options in terms of what he can do in the run game and pass game. I think he'll be a fine
And he's only
blocker.
20 years old.
Right.
20 years old. It's
And-
another young guy on the roster.
Exactly. Again, just a young team, hungry team. And on our other draft pick, our other big notable draft pick this year was Luther Burden III out of Missouri. I know I mentioned him earlier.
He was my number 1 wide receiver in this rookie class.
And we stole him in the second round. Stole him.
No.
So again, I just think there's a lot to be excited for with this team. It might take a year or two, but I definitely think the record will improve. I just think obviously it takes time for an entire lot, coaching change. The whole new O-line is different. I just think it'll take some time, but I think it's very, very promising. And so out of the locker room from players, a lot of players are saying Ben Johnson is this is the most confidence they've ever seen out of a first-year coach, and that also makes me excited. So, and another thing about Ben Johnson, Caleb said his bond between him and Ben is already strong, and I wrote
That's what
this.
you love to see from a quarterback in his play.
As minicamp even started, and if it did, it started very recently.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important, and I think the sense of urgency has been made pretty clear, and is appreciated by all the guys in the locker room. So
Tons of potential for not only statistical success, but also a fun team to watch overall.
exactly, yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there with episode 1 of The Claw. I hope you can seriously consider being a Bears fan at this point, especially if you're from Iowa City. If not, I don't really care.
Yeah. Do your own thing.
Do your own thing.
You'll be missing out.
But you'll be missing out on Super Bowl champions in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's it for us.
See ya.
Wow.